Hi, this is Dave Kettlewell, host of Sustainable Life. Is America's educational system for children sustainable? Are we preparing our kids correctly for the next 50 years, giving them the skill sets they need to be successful? And do we feel good about the way they're being educated? Well, the answer to what's happening in education across America is rather complex because there are many different types of education occurring. Today, we're at the Spring Garden Waldorf School in Copley, Ohio. We're going to be taking a look at it. Is it better? You decide. Thanks for joining us.
I think it's indescribable. I've never been more proud of anything I've ever done than to see a group of children come to me every day, to see their family trust me as a teacher every day, and then to watch them grow up into incredible, amazing people and go out into the world. And there's this feeling of excitement when they leave in 8th grade to think, all right, we've been together for 8 years. I've given them everything I can as a teacher, and now I get to see what change they're going to make in the world. And I've never had anything quite like that in my life.
What we're giving the kids here is a love of learning that they will take with them forever. And I also, and I will tell you that not only how my child is benefiting from this, but also how my wife and I are benefiting from this. The verbs of our life have changed because of Waldorf education. The verbs that characterize a lot of families are, watch, consume, buy, eat, drink. The verbs, because of how our participation in Waldorf, are now create, build, play, craft, and because of that, we look at life so differently.
The teachers meet with the parents and families at the beginning of the year, and then several times periodically through the year. And I remember when my son was in 1st grade, and we had our first class meeting. And, I asked the teacher, what are your goals for the class this year? What are they going to learn? I was an excited, new mom and couldn't wait for my kids to start school. And the teacher very succinctly said, I want them to learn to get along and to work together. And I thought, okay, that's nice, but is it really the most important thing? And as the year went on, I saw the kids working together. And my son would come home every evening and tell me, oh, this child can do this, and this child can do this. And he knew the strength and the talents of every other child in his class. And on the last day of school, the kids share a day of play at a local swimming lake. And they were all playing in the sand. And his teacher and I stood on the shore watching the kids play. And there were more than 20 students in his class. And they were all cooperatively creating a sand structure, buildings and rivers and canals, with no intervention from any adult. And they had created an entire network of workings, and they were like an assembly line. And they had done this all on their own, and they were working seamlessly to create this masterpiece in the sand. And the teacher looked at me and said, do you think we achieved our goal for the year? And absolutely, it was clear that they had. And now 8 years later, those children still revel in each other's strengths. And they appreciate that each individual strengths work together to make a group effort and a team effort. And they work collaboratively as a community seamlessly. And shockingly, better than any adult group I've ever seen.
On a field trip with my daughter yesterday, we went on a bike ride, the entire class of 4th graders, 21 kids, went on a 10-mile bike ride, and I was lucky to be one of the chaperones. And one thing about the Waldorf community is that I was not the only chaperone. When parents were solicited, who wants to come, there was 10 parents there. It was really remarkable. And we all rode the bike on this beautiful Northeast Ohio day, and rode 10 miles, and then we took a train back to our starting point. And it was wonderful to see kind of three things really. Is number one, the kids being outside, and on this beautiful day, here we are, instead of watching television or playing video games, they're outside, and you could tell every single one of those kids is used to being outside. They're comfortable. When we took breaks, they're kicking around in the mud, they're playing in the grass, they're having a wonderful time. So that's number one. And number two is that dynamic of the kids themselves. The teacher provided them with pretty straightforward guidelines. We're going to go on this bike ride. You're going to line up single file. We're going to stick together. We're going to take breaks. If one of us falls behind, we'll wait for them. We'll work as a team to make this 10 miles for a 9-year-old is no small feat. And the kids really work together. And if one child was struggling, the other kids would come back and kind of help them and encourage them. So it was beautiful to see that dynamic. And it was me not being in a classroom routinely. Seeing that dynamic on the bike trail just gives you the sense that that's the exact same dynamic that's happening in the classroom when they're trying to learn something new and helping one another through it. And then lastly, that the community, having the parents there, the teacher, all of us partners in trying to make this experience here at Spring Garden as great as it can be.
What is Waldorf education? Waldorf education is educational philosophy founded by Rudolf Steiner, and it's a way of teaching in which we look at a developmental growth of the child and teach our classes according to what they need at the right time. So when we believe that a child is going through a particular area of change, say for example, struggling with who they are and rebelling against society in adolescence, we teach that period of history. We teach the Revolutionary War and all the way through the 60s and revolutions that were happening in the United States at that point in time to meet that inner need. And along with that, we also teach a growing idea of their own selves, their awareness of themselves as social beings, their awareness of the beauty in the world around them, their awareness of their place in the world.
The curriculum works because what you're teaching is what is appropriate to the child at that moment. And so right now I'm in 5th grade, I'm teaching history, but I'm teaching history through story and through painting and through drawing. And, so it's not a lot of dry facts, memorization, but instead it's engaging the whole child. And because it's exactly what the 5th grader, the 11-year-old needs, they're ready to go with it. It's just right for them. And also our curriculum, we do a lot of artistic activities, and it includes not only the visual arts but drama. And so you have children who, are good for intellectual work and writing and the things that we normally see in a regular classroom. But then, we have all these other activities so that the child who's good in other things has a chance to really shine. And so it's just this wonderful, large collage of activities that engage the child in all different ways. And so it works. And they get to see, if they're really good in one area, they get to see other children who are good in other areas. And that's always just very excellent for all children to be able to see that variety.
One of the things that typically is asked in a Waldorf school is that the parents donate time back to the school. There's a number of reasons for this. It's obviously an offset on cost and resources for the school if you have parent volunteers doing some of the work. The bigger reason for it is that it's good for the students and the children to see their parents working to support something that they believe in. Children learn through imitation, and so when they see their parents coming in and whether it's scrubbing the floors or changing light bulbs or spreading mulch on the playground or gardening, they're seeing the importance of that work.
Volunteering at the Waldorf School gives me a sense of purpose. I'm always telling my girls that they should be mindful of what they're doing. There should be purpose in everything that they do. When I volunteer at the school, I feel like I'm contributing not only to my girls' environment, but everyone around us, this entire extended family that we have here at the school. We're all pitching in with our heart, with our hands, and I feel an intense sense of purpose when I volunteer at the school.
I had the privilege of coming to Waldorf when I was in college. There was a single mother who had her son here at Spring Garden, and my now husband and I had the opportunity to do some of the service hours for her because she worked too many hours, and we got this little glimpse of something amazing and beautiful when we were not even ready to start a family. So 15 years before our first child would come to us, we got a glimpse of what this education could do. And quite frankly, when our oldest turned 3, we sold our house in Twinsburg and we moved here knowing that this would be where we would educate our children.
I often say that I couldn't have imagined my sons going anywhere else besides here to Spring Garden. It has been nearly 4 years that Daniel has been gone. But I still feel a connection to this place because of the fact that Rudolf Steiner said that when you are actively involved in your child's education, not only will your child grow and learn, but you as a human being will also grow and learn. And through my experience here at Spring Garden, I feel a connection still, and I come back, and even though some of the faces have changed, there are still a number of faces that have been here for longer than I was here.
When I first heard that at Spring Garden they would have the same teacher for 8 years, that made me a little nervous, and I thought, oh boy, that's a long time to be with one person. But as I've seen here, it's really amazing because what I remember from my grade school experience, I remember overhearing some teachers talk about some of the problem kids in class and how they just wanted to make it through that year because they would be done with them soon and it would be somebody else's problem. What has really struck me here is the fact that the teachers know they're going to have the kid the next year, and there's a different sort of commitment to their situation. If there is a situation with a child, they're really committed to solving the problem with a permanent solution and not just passing time getting through.
People always wonder about what is it like to teach children through the whole 8th grade. You start in 1st grade and then you take them all the way up through 8th grade. And it's really so much more, there's so much more depth to it than one would think. So in 1st grade, a child is looking at you in great wonder, and you are, everything you say and do is just wonderful. And then you take it to 8th grade, and they're wondering, why are you doing what you're doing? And so that seems to when people look at it, they think, oh, that's challenging. But really, the truth is that when you're in 8th grade, you remember back to the child in 1st grade, and you see that whole picture all at once. And the children themselves, even though day to day they're still teenagers, they're not going to change that, but they have a memory of you too, and that love that they had for you when they were in 1st grade. And so that carries, and it just makes it easier.
We're going into one of our early childhood classes. This class is a mixed age group of 4- and 5-year-olds, so they're preschoolers and kindergartners. It's very important that for the children the days follow a rhythm, and each day has its own rhythm. It helps the children feel safe and open to what we're bringing to them, and it's one of the strong bases that Waldorf education is made upon. So each day of the week has a specific activity for the children, and it's always the same each week. So let's say Wednesday's baking day, Thursday's coloring day, Friday's painting day. This is how the children start to relate to the time and the days of the week. So the class that we're going into now, it is coloring day, and this is a reverent, quiet, focused time for the children. Our early childhood really focuses on being able to give children the skills they need to be successful in the academic learning through the grades. So there's a lot of time spent teaching them how to do focused work for an extended period of time, to follow the lead of a teacher, to work together as a social group, as a class, and to work with their memory skills. Going into our first grade classroom. In Waldorf education, we believe that young children need to move while they're learning. That sitting at a desk all day long isn't conducive to learning for young children. They need to be using their bodies. So what we'll see in these early grades is a lot of movement in the classrooms. They will move on later in the morning to a place where they're sitting down at their desk working in a more traditional way that you would be used to seeing, but this is how the day starts, usually from first through third grade.
Sun, one for the golden sun, two for the night and day, four for the seasons slowly turning, three for me, for here I find strong limbs, warm heart.
We're getting ready to go into second grade. In the second grade classroom this morning, they are working with math, multiplication, memorization, while using sticks to help them with the rhythm and with their memory. Again, we believe that young children need to be moving while they're learning. They learn through their whole bodies, and this is one way to help them remember the math facts that they're learning.
Good job. All right, we ended very well. Awesome. All right, let's try threes now. Okay? 18, 20, 12, 9.
Now we're getting ready to go into the third grade classroom. The focus of the curriculum in the third grade is to learn how different communities come together and settle and find what they need to live. So it has a lot to do with measurement, home building, learning about how different cultures came together, whether there were Indian tribes that were nomadic or that stayed in one place, and how they found their food and their clothing. So then that also brings into play gardening and where the wool comes from, what animals they needed to get their clothing, and this all plays into the third grade curriculum.
3, 2, 1.
Barashit, bara, Elohim, et Hashemayim.
Sometimes I'm I, and sometimes I'm you, or he, or she.
We're getting ready to go into the fourth grade classroom. The fourth graders are practicing their recorders. Music is a big part of Waldorf education. The children start in the early grades playing pentatonic flutes. And then they change to recorders as they get a bit older. In fourth grade, they will all learn to play the violin. They will move to different stringed instruments as they go up through the grades. Some will choose woodwinds, and in the 7th and 8th grade, the students play together as an orchestra. This is a very well-rounded education that involves music and movement and art, and the goal is really to give the children a variety of experiences so that their strengths can show, and also it's been proven that all of those experiences help develop the connections in the brain for the children's neurons. This is the time when all of those things are developing, and so all of these different interactions in their education help develop their brain to its best potential. We're getting ready to go into the 5th grade classroom, and in 5th grade the children study ancient cultures such as Egypt, Persia, Mesopotamia, and they're right now working in their main lesson books, which is a textbook that they create themselves. In Waldorf education, through all the grades, the children make their own textbooks rather than learning from a traditional textbook. This is a very multisensory education, and so that being able to write it down themselves and make a living picture of what they're learning helps them, again, to just come closer to the information that they're learning about and get to work with it in a different way. So we're going to go in now and see their books that they're making about Mesopotamia.
A little slant to the side. Okay, just look at that.
It's a ziggurat, and they're, well, an ancient structure from when Iraq was called Mesopotamia.
It looks great on you, Jill.
The 6th grade class is in our science classroom, and they're currently doing a study of physics. In Waldorf education, we teach in main lesson blocks, and what that means is the children study a particular new set of concepts for 2 hours every morning. It gives them a chance to work with information in a lot of different ways and to delve very deeply into what they're learning so that they have a better opportunity to grasp and retain what they're learning. The 6th grade is in a physics block, so they're studying the physics of sound, the physics of light, heat, and we're going to go into the science classroom now and see them at work.
I am doing a writing for my prisms. Well, I'm going to write about how inside, when I looked at the lights, they were all rainbow, even my ruler.
When we work with sciences with the upper grade students, they work through experiments, and rather than telling them what they're going to see happen in an experiment, we start with the experiment first and ask the children to observe what's happening. There's much conversation afterwards and time for the kids to discuss and process what they think occurred in an experiment. The teacher guides the questions in the class to help bring the children to the concept of a scientific phenomenon that they had just seen. This is called teaching through the Socratic method, so it's through conversation and discussion rather than a memorization of a fact that they've been given. The 7th grade is in a language arts main lesson block, and they're working with writing, different ways of writing. So they this week have done a comparing and contrasting of something. They have done a debate or argument of something that they felt was important to them. They're getting ready now to write in their main lesson books for their next project.
It's writing, and if you pencil it in, then we can get on our pen behind it. You could, absolutely, because it's about writing. Any other ideas, Simon?
Or you could just make designs and something.
You could, absolutely. So does that give you enough ideas? Okay, something else.
With Jerome's idea, with the pencil and piece of paper, if we drew an ink pen and put it like at the end of the G, so it looks like the ink pen drew the G.
Yeah, you could do that.
The 8th grade class is studying meteorology as their main lesson block. We're going to go in now and see them also working in their main lesson books and have them share with us what they've learned.
Well, right now I am writing about clouds and certain identifications that show what they are. And right now I'm writing about the kinds of cirrus clouds, which are kind of wispy and all that.
Well, our school is really blessed to have a great campus. First of all, inside we have a place for every grade in our school, and we have many subject classrooms as well. And we have a natural flow to how our school is set up so that we're able to have an early childhood wing going up to 3rd grade, a middle grades wing, and then an upper grades wing. And then our subjects by classroom are sort of interspersed throughout the building. But we're also very blessed to have an incredible campus, and so we use not just the building, but the outside area very extensively. We're able to set up our outside spaces so that our youngest children are separated in a lovely meadow, which is protected by a fence from our parking area. And we have about 12 acres here on our campus. We have active play areas. We're also adjacent to another complex called Sportsman's Complex. It's a privately owned area next door to us, and we're able to use that property as well, and that's a big asset to our facility. In addition, we have 2 areas for gardening. We have a smaller area which is extensively used for our 3rd grade classroom, and then we have a larger, nearly 1 acre plot of land that we've just recently been able to set up as a garden space for all of the 8 grades, and a greenhouse is adjacent to that.
I was impressed with my daughter's ability after a couple days of school. Whenever she would open up and talk about her day, she would address everyone as my friend Kelly, my friend Kieran, my friend Abby, my friend so-and-so. Whoever she met at school, everyone was her friend, whether they were in her class, if they were in the other kindergarten class, if they were an older child in the hallway that she happened to meet. She would remember everyone's name and face, and they were all her friends. And I thought, what a beautiful concept that these kids are learning. Everyone here is a friend. Everyone here is a kindred spirit.
This education system allows a child to be a child. And it brings them along slow enough that when Daniel was in 2nd grade, he got up on a Saturday morning and was getting dressed. And my wife and I both looked at him and says, "Daniel, what are you doing?" He goes, "Well, I'm getting ready for school." And we looked at him and we says, "Daniel, there's no school today. It's Saturday." And he got this just saddened look on his face like, "There isn't?" So, I mean, when I was in 2nd grade, I did everything I possibly could to avoid going to school.
So my husband is a research scientist, so he was asked to come in. He's a chemist. He was asked to come in and teach chemistry to the 7th grade students. And he couldn't believe it. He was really excited about the opportunity, but when he came home, he was telling me that absolutely everyone in class was asking questions. And he was just blown away. He taught at the college level for many years and never had that kind of interest from the college students. Absolutely every single kid in class asked many questions and were really engaged in the topic. So it was really a neat experience.
There wasn't a set of reasons why I chose this school. I didn't have a checklist. ABC, what I wanted for my child. I was looking for something and I'm not sure what. And as soon as I walked into the building and had my interview, it was a feeling. It was a general feeling that somehow, without knowing what, without giving it a name, we fit here as a family.